This is a dirty game, bro. And what I've always said is all is fair in love, war, and challenges, 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 and challenges.
Yeah, but go ahead and talk to us and preach about Jonna's arc, which
she never was looked at as a challenge beast. She was always seemed as one of the weaker competitors, even though she was always very well likable, because being on the opposite side of a Zach relationship would get you a lot of pity. She made all 3 finals. She won 2. You got to give that girl her flowers.
I mean, she did really, really well. And honestly, I think she has stopped playing the game so emotionally. I think that's where a lot of her flaws were when she was first doing these challenges. It was very emotional gameplay, and she was probably drinking a little bit heavier and, maybe not as focused, a little bit more boy crazy, kind of situation. So I think she's really focused, and I like it.
I mean, we do have to be honest, though, that the female competitors she went up against in every season in finales were not up to the same standard that you would expect finalists to be at. Now, granted, I understand we're like, well, Kayla and Nia and Kellyanne are pretty good in their own right, which is true, but Kayla and Nia are not finals experts. They don't thrive in that environment. Really, Nia was only good at one-on-one competitions, if we're being honest, or the competition where she had to carry a lot of weight. So she didn't really go up against anybody that had that experience, except for like Kellyanne, but Kellyanne cracks under pressure. I'm just saying if Kendall made a final against her, she would have had her work cut out for her in all those categories. If she was running against...
That's all part of the game.
If she was running against like a Laurel
champ.
or a Cara... No, don't stop. I was listening to that, and I haven't been here all season. Hello, how's it going, everybody? Welcome. It's me. He didn't introduce me. It's Laurel Louder. But anyways, I kept hearing all this stuff, and I don't care if I get heat, as you guys know. But like Veronica was like, "Oh man, I'm so mad. I got hurt. And I was gonna make that final." I was like, "What? You wouldn't have even." The way it got to the part where they would have eliminated people and been like, "Where's Veronica at? Where's she at? We're still waiting on her." She was nowhere near competing there. I don't think when it comes to a final, I think there was like 2 or 3 on the female side that were prepared and ready to run a final and compete. I think a couple of them are really good. I call it like regular season, postseason. In the regular season, I think Kayla was fantastic. I thought Nia did really well holding her own. And then Jonna, I thought was good all around. But I don't think Jonna's competition was as hard for her as it was for
Let's be honest, all
the
the females this season were more mid-card to low-card performers, competitors overall. There wasn't really anybody, I agree with Tyler, there wasn't anybody who was really a super strong competitor. Because even in Jonna, even if she goes into a regular season with like a Laurel, Cara, the people who've been going on these challenges, she would not survive. It's just, I don't think she would do as well.
Granted, I don't think Cara would ever be invited to this because she's a fresh meat. So I think she misses the criteria technically.
People were fresh meat on there.
I take it as everybody was on a Real World season or a Road Rules season.
No, there were people who were fresh meaters on there. I don't remember who it was, but I know that there was a couple people who were part of that season.
Big Easy.
I'm going to go ahead and bring us in. All right. What's really good, Posters? Welcome to another episode of Love, War, Challenges. I am MTV Malik. She is Becky at Gift Master Bex. And he is Tyler at Lord Louder. Welcome back, sir.
Surprise.
Yes.
Hello.
It's good to have you back. You're like our little encyclopedia. It's crazy how much knowledge that is always on the tip of our tongues, and usually we'll just turn to you. Like last night, because I was just like, as soon as I started hearing about the cookout and stuff when Challenge USA, I was just like, they're going to get targeted early and often. It's just going to be like Team Austin and, what was the name of that season?
Fresh Meat.
Fresh Meat. And you asked, Becky had it though. She was on the ball.
I know that. That was one of my favorite seasons.
And listen, if I wanted to know how to put on, eyelashes, then I would call Becky up. If I want to know about challenge stuff,
no, you don't want to. You don't want to call me about eyelashes. I know nothing. Do you see me? You've seen me in person. I don't even wear makeup. What the fuck?
You have nice natural eyelashes, but We're not here to talk about the Challenge USA, not just yet, even though I have a whole lot to say about that shit and this Tyson character in the Cookout. Today,
gosh.
we are here to discuss
The Challenge. All Stars.
Thanks. The Challenge All-Stars 3, Episode 10, The Final.
You were taking too long.
It's called a dramatic pause. Like,
I'm impatient.
chill. It obviously, congratulations. Oh, no, let me just leave that there.
Thing to say real quick before we jump on in. This is a side thing. I don't think you're going to bring it up. All 3 seasons of All Stars have been 10 episodes. I think it is the perfect length. I think it fits. It doesn't seem like it's too long. It feels good. Like when they finish, it doesn't feel like it was rushed. It doesn't feel like it was dragged. It feels like the right amount of people were eliminated and right amount of competitions. And like every season has people go home. They say it's because like they have personal issues. Really, I think it's just they realized they were too old to compete on the show, so they got to go home. That's just what happens with all these people. Jokes aside, I think the format length has been fantastic. For
I
a
would
10
agree with you.
episode series.
Well, I mean, it would have
think so,
been
too.
longer had not so many people got sent home or went home because of.
Nah, I think it still would have been 10.
Maybe
Because
maybe they
worst
were
case
purge.
scenario, yeah, worst case scenario, they and that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking they probably planned on 5, have a purge, and then an elimination at some point. But yeah, 10 episodes does seem perfect. It gives us perfect challenge content in between challenge seasons, and we're about to get a whole lot more challenge stuff with all of these new shows coming out. I'm still not 100% sure if we're going to be covering, the UK or Australia or, Argentina, all the other seasons, but we will be covering the Challenge USA. That episode is going to drop right after this episode. But let's go ahead and get to the final. We pick up right where we left off. The crews get into the kayak. The teams are Kayla and Nehemiah, Brad and Janae, Kellyanne, Mark, and Wes and Naya. So it's crazy because Wes is known as a good swimmer, but he is getting murdered in this kayak in this kayak
Well, he's
competition.
not swimming. He has to kayak. It's different.
Well, yeah, but it's like water shit, so you expect all that water shit to be kind of connected. Tyler, you ride Wes's jock a whole bunch. Can you explain why Wes was doing
Rightfully
so bad in the kayak, or are you just going to blame it on Naya?
Well, I mean, if you're watching the same thing I'm watching, there was lots of clips where they were showing it. It looked like Naya was barely dipping her paddle in the water, like while Wes was digging. She's really lucky that Wes is a good partner and he like understands. Actually, hang on. She's really good that Wes is now a really good partner, and this wasn't fresh meat Wes, where he would have been like, "Dig your fucking paddle." Because
Fresh Meat was a long time ago.
Yes, and he was like 20, 21 years old. But I'm just saying, if he would have been in the back in this, as nice as he was saying he was going to beat all his partners, he would have been ripping her, because there were times where she was like barely kind of moving, and maybe she was conserving her energy. It didn't really matter in the end, but I mean, it looked like day 2, or the second episode at least, was a really rough start for at least these two, at least for Wes, who was coming in first in almost everything.
Yeah, and it's wild how much those points really mattered, because without those points, Wes would be in third. So, I mean, I'm sorry, Wes didn't get those points. Without those points, Nehemiah would be 100% in last place. Now, the guy's side, for the most part, is pretty good with the points. Mark and Kellyanne won that competition, and then Nehemiah and Kayla, and then Johnny and Brad came in. At this point, on the guy's side, the points are 19 Wes, 18 Nehemiah, 16 Brad, 12 Mark. So still very close, still anyone's game. But for the ladies' side, it's super one-sided. Janae at 17, Kayla's right behind her with 15, Naya at 14. So the top 3 is close, but number 4, Kellyanne, is all the way down at 9. Is it surprising that Kellyanne is dragging so much in this final?
I feel like Kellyanne gave up early. Like, she just was very nonchalant about everything. I don't know if she was just like, I'm just happy to be here kind of a person where I just want to finish, or if she just felt that she just couldn't catch up when she started getting last place so often.
You think it's a mindset thing?
I think that you get really downtrodden when all you're getting is 1 point, 1 point, 1 point. And you're like, I don't even know if I'm going to be able to catch up to these people unless I literally get first the rest of this way, the rest of these challenges or rest of these things, whatever. And Lord knows how many there are going to be on the first day. So yeah, I feel like it can really bring somebody into a downward spiral.
All right. And Tyler?
There's two things. Either here in the next like week or two, we're gonna get a report that's saying that like she was like actually not feeling good and that's why she was dragging, or well, Becky's saying, I mean, there's a continuation on that. There's like two types of people. Like when you are in last place and you're getting dogged on by your friends, or you're losing in a game and it's fourth quarter, you kind of like tuck it in and you're like, next one I'll get them type thing. Or you're the type of person that's like, oh, nice, I'm the underdog now. I'm going to prove everybody wrong. I'm going to like freaking rip your head off and eat it type thing, depending on the mentality you have. I think she is the former in that situation, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see some situation where it was like, wow, I wasn't feeling good all the time. Like my zen was off. It's something.
Her zen was off.
I don't know. I mean, I feel like that's a thing for people that are like very like spiritual and like do a lot of like yoga and everything. But I do think that her mentality kind of slowly went down after Kendall left, and it was like she was there because she was there type thing at that point, and she didn't really have anybody else to lean on. And I think after like a week or two of like being on your own, it's got to take a toll on you of just being essentially a loner for 14 days. Like just imagine that you're with people that are supposed to be your peers, and you're really kind of on your own. It's got to take some mental toll on you that then you get to a final and it's like, no. These are your best friends. Work with them and they're going to help you and then beat these other people. She probably was checked out, to be honest, because going into this final, when you're looking at these four competitors, Kellyanne should dominate everything that doesn't include carrying heavy weights. Like
or
everything
puzzles.
that doesn't include carrying heavy weights. Well, yeah, but really, outside of that, Johnny's like the only real good puzzle person. If you're looking at everybody,
She freaked out on one puzzle and she was able to do the other one. So
Well,
yeah, she did. She won another puzzle. So it's I think
I meant
that
overall
really
history
she got
wise.
yes. I just think that she got down early, and because she got down early, she's one of those people that was like, how could I come back? Instead of like not thinking like that and just being like, I'm going to come back. It's like, well, there's no way. I'm so far away. And I think the points thing really messed with everybody.
I love the point system. The point system takes away, it takes away a tool that is sometimes used to, to go over discrepancies and stuff. It takes away the time factor. You're there when you arrive and you're assigned points. There's no bullshit in that. There's no, like what happened at the end of Final Reckoning, where it's just like, yeah, everybody's saying that these people should have won. The point system is absolutely great. I always love the point system. I always love challengers being able to call out their opponents in elimination. And I absolutely love personal bank accounts. Those are some of my favorite things. You don't have to have them every season, but those are some of the things that really, really contribute to a great season. But moving on, we're having an elimination at the end of this kayak run. And this was such a great idea. I was talking about this last episode. I thought these eliminations should be, less puzzly, but it doesn't have to be hall brawl, in the middle of a final. And they came up with the perfect thing, and that's King of the Hill. The guys got to go out to a floating raft and knock each other off. It's physical, but it's not going to exert too much energy. It's going to be pretty quick, and it's going to be great to look at.
I like the callback because he's like, this is like the first thing I ever did.
Mm-hmm.
It was actually really, really great when they did it. Like the guys, they were going at it, and as some jumped off. It was
well, that was the veterans on that season of the Gauntlet 2 decided to play rock, paper, scissors. They're like, we're not going to beat each other up for this. And they jumped off. And then the rookies were like, we've never seen the challenge before. We have to beat each other up. And Alton beat everybody up. But no surprise here. The two guys that were on the Gauntlet 2 back in the 19th century, Mark and Brad, both came out, and they were on that season on the vet team, and they had a little experience with it. I mean, I think who won that was expected to win in every capacity. Maybe not John A. If some people will think that Kayla's like this superhuman strength wise.
No.
One of the coolest things was, Kellyanne isn't tiny. She's pretty tall. She may be a little lanky, but she has some size on her. And the way that Nia just dwarfed over her really put how big she is into perspective.
I was like, God damn, Nia.
Yeah, I did not really realize how massive. I know we're talking about how big a female is, but yes, she's pretty. She has a lot of size, and I guess I didn't really notice how big she really was.
Don't
and I
say
mean that
big.
just as a.
Just say tall.
I mean that in a mass way.
It's fine. It's fine because that's the way you talk about guys, and so equality, everybody gets talked about the same way. That's how you get talked about. And,
well, I would think you would be calling a guy fat too, so I really wouldn't think it's a good thing.
No, I would say that. I would say that
you
word.
don't say big.
She's not fat at all, though.
You don't say big.
Nah,
you say
bigger
tall.
is everything.
All right,
But anyways,
all right.
anyways, this was very similar to like Laurel versus Jasmine on Fresh Meat when they were the little thing. Like you look at the size and you're just like, oh, poor Kellyanne. Like she's in a.
She tried.
Nia
She gave a good effort.
Nia was nice about it.
She very much did try. So, I got a lot of respect for that. But you're right. The people who was expected to win these, they won. Brad, Mark, Nia, and Janae, they all get the extra 5 points. New teams are going to be made, and that's going to be Brad and Janae, Mark and Nia, Nehemiah and Kellyanne,
I honestly thought
Wes
Brad and
Kayla.
Wes was going to be closer, like as a battle.
No,
No.
I think Wes wanted to win, but once he got pushed down to the floor, why exert the energy? Take the L, save your energy, and use it in more of a fashion. He could have wasted a lot of energy fighting too much, and I think he did the right thing here.
I don't remember exactly, but did Wes and Brad go first?
Yes.
Yes.
They went first? Okay, never mind. I was going to say maybe Wes kind of threw it because he saw who he'd be paired up with if he lost right away. But if they went first, or maybe he did. Maybe he was like, oh, Kellyanne's going to get last. I'm going to get last. We'll pair up. It's a good running partner for me.
Well, I don't think he was really that concerned about losing too much either, because I don't think he thought he was going to, Brad wasn't going to catch up with him points wise.
Yeah, but still, Brad is like right behind him. So,
realistically, Brad was always going to beat him in that situation, in my opinion.
Yeah, exactly. The next checkpoint is these teams now got to take 100 pounds of sandbags and take it through the trail. And, normally not a big thing, but Nehemiah and Kellyanne come up with this brilliant strategy that they are going to do 2 trips, which almost immediately bites them in the ass once they realize the distance. Brad is having trouble adjusting the bags. And I was actually shocked that Brad was having so much trouble. Brad is a huge guy. He can carry a lot. I really just don't know what Nehemiah and Kellyanne was thinking and why they thought making 2 trips was going to be the answer here. The answer will always be the shorter amount of trips, the better. We have had very few challenges where more than 1 trip was going to be the answer. So I don't really know what they was thinking with that one. So they come in dead last. They only get 1 point. Brad and Johnny come in third. Wes and Kayla comes in and they get 3 points. And Mark and Nia gets the win, so they get 5. Now, the game is getting a little bit tighter. We got Wes at 22 points, Nehemiah at 19, Brad at 18, Mark at 16. For the ladies, we got Johnny at 24, Nia at 23, Kayla at 16, Kellyanne at 10. At this point, Nia is only 1 point behind. At this up until now, she has been running a pretty solid final. And then I knew this thing couldn't be perfect. We get to the part that I hate the most. The overnight portion. Everybody's scared about what it's going to entail. TJ lets them know that, hey, you guys are going to be staying on the yacht, spend some time with the money. They get a nice spread. They get to sleep on a boat, yada, yada, yada. Some people get seasickness. And during this time, we get everybody's motivations again, to wanting to win. But this really, really pissed me off. I'm going to tell you why.
What the hell was this shit?
Well, kind of. Because the overnight portions are known to be pretty brutal. And some people make the complaint that you can't really respect All-Stars as a real challenge championship because it's way easier. It's too short. They don't go as hard. And to some degree, sure, but it's kind of designed that way. This is how you're able to get some of the older people who already have long-standing jobs and families and stuff. This is the way to get them back. This was the compromise that was made. And doing something like this only adds to that. You don't have to have a super brutal overnight portion. But you know what? Something simple. Ride the bikes for 20 miles and then go camp out. Whoever does it the fastest gets the best tent. You didn't need to put them on a yacht and give them showers and shit. I hated that portion. Did the overnight portion make you guys feel some kind of way?
I kept waiting for something to happen. Like, maybe that was the point, that they were like having them on edge, like something. You
are 100% right. That overnight portion, besides them talking about their motivations, did nothing to push the story forward. And that's the biggest problem I have with it too.
Well, I was sitting there looking at them going, why? Why are they just laying here? I just don't get it.
Showing us the motivations, the first trilogy got that down right. When they were all, at the end of, Vendettas or whatever, and they're like, all right, mad dash, to the money. It's going to be a foot race. You got everybody running this long montage. That's the perfect time to show everybody's motivations. We didn't need it during this overnight portion. It was wasteful.
30-30 is what you're talking about.
30-30. Even though I always do like those last, hey, we're going to have, a 1 mile foot race to the end. That's always a great way to cap off a final, or a long swim. Here goes a surfboard. They should have made them swim to the yacht. That would have been great.
Let's play devil's advocate then.
All right.
I think that it was actually worse than most overnight stays. Now, let me say why. When we're looking at it, I feel like you guys are looking at it as sleeping on the sand or dirt with bugs versus sleeping in a yacht. Well, the yacht seems more appealing, but when you're sleeping on the ground doesn't move. Granted, you might be colder, but you're stable. Sleeping in a boat is not something people normally do. Like, outside of Nehemiah, realistically, nobody enjoyed sleeping on that boat. Now, what do? Instead of having to eat this terrible thing, or you get like no food, or you just get an IV, you know what? Sit back and relax. Eat as much food as you want. It's taking people out of the game, even if they don't realize it. Oh, here's some champagne. Enjoy this. You're in the middle of a competition, a long during race, and you're going to sit here and have some delicious food and sit on a yacht and rest. And some people, when you're in game mode, as soon as you shut it down, it slows your momentum down. It affects you. When you sit and have a drink, it affects you. When you're not sleeping on a stable ground you're not used to, it affects you. So while the yacht is covering up what happened, it took them out of the game mentally, which I think could have been a major hindrance for some people. Even though we're hearing the word, we're seeing it, it's a yacht. It's food, it's drinks, it's shower. I mean, that can shut people out of game mode. Also, they reset the bar, where somebody like Nehemiah, who's really hurting, needed that rest. And now it puts in an even playing field for day 2. Somebody like Wes, who was, in my opinion, shitting on everybody on day 1 overall, just dominating, is pissed because everybody else gets to heal up, and then he gets motion sickness on the boat. I mean, it's just an interesting thing to think about, because instead of them having a night where they're not doing anything and the next day they eat something gross, which they did, they filled up their stomachs with some delicious food and then had to eat something gross when their stomachs were full and they were drinking alcohol. I don't know. I think that there are components of it that it doesn't seem as grueling. Points. Yeah,
it's not grueling, but no. I think with that, some people are going to do great with it. Some people had no problem sleeping on the boat, but the next day we do get some people with seasickness, and some people was complaining about the boat. Like, hey, maybe I would have preferred, sleeping on the ground. But
I would have. If that was me, I would have been like, can I sleep on the beach?
Oh, I don't get seasick. I would have been right on that boat. Yes, please.
Just like riding on a boat for like 20 minutes, I get like nauseating. Like,
I have not been on a boat for a... Oh, no, I've been on the Staten Island ferry. That counts, right?
I guess.
Yeah, sure. It's a taxi, but sure.
So anybody in New York, if you get on the Staten Island ferry, it's a good way to see the Statue of Liberty without having to go to Ellis Island. But let me just tell you, don't get off the ferry. If you get off the ferry, then you're going to be in Staten Island. And nobody wants to. Just remember, most of the cast from Jersey Shore is from Staten Island. It's not a place you want to be.
Isn't that where Jenna's ex is from? He's from Staten Island too, isn't he?
That would make sense. I can see that. That makes sense for him.
Let's just say this. When they get to day 2 and they eliminate the points, but they kind of say, hey, your top 2 points are good. I was happy Because I was like, man, if the points continue, somebody's going to win this because they're good at winning one-on-one matchups, not actually good at a final. I thought it was laid out really well, to be honest.
Yeah, I would have preferred the points to keep going. I really like the point system.
They served a purpose.
They did.
But the thing is
What was that, Becky?
I preferred the points because they earned it. They earned these
that's not a
points.
fun-
They should be able to. I don't know. I just feel like there should have been more of a benefit to that. Because at the end of the day, you know, you could have been the lowest person on the totem pole. All you have to do is win the elimination. It doesn't even matter everything you just did or put yourself through. You could have.
Not necessarily, because there was 3 eliminations. So Nehemiah had 19 points. So if you got last place in 3 competitions, but won all 3 eliminations, you'd have had 18 points. You still would have been in the elimination. So you had to not get last place plus win all of them to even be safe.
Plus,
so, I mean,
plus it's a tight game. 5 points drops you 2 spots.
There was
minimum.
no benefit
Yeah.
afterwards, though. They were like, okay, everybody's on the same playing field. Go run.
Not really, because as soon as they get off the boat, as soon as they start the next day, the first thing TJ says is, hey, there's only 6 spots. So if you're at the bottom, you're going into an elimination.
I thought it was done well for how they did it. Like, it wasn't last 2 to show up here in elimination. It wasn't, hey, vote on who's going in, like War of the Worlds 1, which is like the only downfall of War of the Worlds 1 at all in that whole season, in my opinion. But it was hey, you guys performed the worst on day 1. So now I compete to see if you can even stay for day 2. I like it because we don't need 8 people running. We don't need 8 people fitting a puzzle. We don't need 8 people eating food. We don't.
We really don't.
And all these guys are terrible at. I feel like this puzzle was extremely easy, just in my own opinion.
Yeah, exactly. We'll be back in a moment. You're listening to Love War Challenges. What's good?
How's it going? This is Derek Kaczynski.
So this is Paulie, and you're listening to Love War Challenges.
What up, Malik? This is Cara Maria. This is a shout out to the Love, War, and Challenges podcast. You're totally awesome.
Love War Challenges. For anyone listening to this, they're at LWC Podcast.
World's most dangerous podcast.
But you know what? You're just coming off the boat. You know, you're still kind of exhausted from yesterday.
You relax. You're not in challenge mode.
Look at you trying to make your point again. So the last spots is going to be Mark and Brad versus Kellyanne and Kayla. Loser goes home. So it turns out we are going to get a Kellyanne versus Kayla. TJ brings up that there was a map in the house showing all of the finals locations, and they made a crossword puzzle of it. And now this elimination is going to be, you have to do this crossword puzzle of the cities. You know, the funny thing is, like, do you motherfuckers not watch the show? The amount of misspelling was comical.
Thailand, T-A-T-Y, land? Like, what do you, what?
Oh,
like,
yeah, man.
Brazil? Like,
hilarious. That's just, you know, isn't Brad a teacher?
well, no, that was Mark that misspelled Brazil.
Brazil.
Like, Mark's been around since Brazil was named a country. Like,
he spelled Brazil the way Vin Diesel said it in the Fast and Furious movie.
Brazil. Yeah.
He said Brazil.
It's Brazil. But what I thought was hilarious is, like, they have a select number of like letters in front of them. Like, over, it says California. Then over the North America, it has 3 letters. Like, just put your USA up there so you know you're not using those, that U, that S, that A. You know you're done with them. Like, it was just surprising that people didn't do the simple ones. And that's what I would have thought. Like, you look at Phuket. What is Phuket? Phuket, Thailand. Like, that they've had like 3 seasons in like Phuket, Thailand.
They
like,
fucking love that city.
They do. They really do. That's like Thailand's literally where, like, if CT was here, he would have known that, because CT won his first 3 finals in Thailand. Like,
Facts.
but there's a couple of those. I was looking at the list. I paused it because at first I was like, why don't they just count the letters for the countries and then go over and read it? And then I was like, oh, okay. They have the cities. I know nothing about history or geography, but I know the challenge. Just by looking at the cities, I knew 6 countries out of those 10, within a second, right away. Just do those 6, and then you should have like 2 letters for each other word, and you're like, okay.
And it's not like they did.
Then Brad
It's not like
spells
they did 50
California.
different countries. They tend to use a lot of the same spots.
Yes.
So, but unfortunately, Mark doesn't get the win. And I was actually a little surprised that Kellyanne didn't get this win either. Brad was able to put it all together once he figured one thing out and everything fell into place. And that was actually really cool to see. Brad is a person, he's worked really, really hard this season. And Brad is the kind of competitor where pretty much nothing ever goes his way. He's always fighting for something. He always plays a super paranoid game. So it was nice to see like the universe kind of just give him one.
He tries to play too safe, I think, is the thing. He's
Yeah.
too scared to make moves, and it ends up biting him later on the end.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, he's a scary player.
And they were hyping up Kellyanne, saying she's been studying this map. Kayla was like,
yeah.
I don't even know. I only know 3 countries in the world. Like,
Another reason why it was a little bit disappointing. I had a lot of high hopes for Kellyanne this season. And really, out of everybody who's in the final right now, I think Kellyanne probably had the worst season. She got picked on a lot. She was targeted a lot. She lost a lot of her friends. And she didn't perform to a standard that I expected her to perform. I do hope we get to see her again in the future, but I hope we get to see her with maybe a bit more intensity.
I mean, to be fair, if you went back and looked at every Kellyanne season she's ever been on, what you said happens every season. She gets picked on, her friends all leave, she's by herself.
Oh, man. Yeah, that really does happen, huh?
Literally on her rookie season, or maybe it was her second season. I forget what happened for I don't know this actually. What happened first? Did it happen? Was
Are you think about the ruins?
Did the ruins happen, or did the island happen first? Oh no, the island happened first.
Island
Johnny
happened
Bananas was
first.
on the champion. So on her rookie season of the island, she got picked on all the time by Johnny Bananas.
Yeah.
And then also now her next season on the ruins, she's still a rookie. Hasn't won. She, essentially, in my eyes, has to go up against Evelyn, her best friend. Her boyfriend at the time, Wes, is getting picked on by everybody and thrown out.
He got
She's in
had
a
it
house
coming.
with. No, he didn't.
He was a little rough to work with.
No. So the story, hang on, real quick, sidebar. The story behind that is Wes was an alternate on that season.
I
and
know.
So when everybody asked, is he going to be there? And he said, no, I'm not going to be there.
And
'cause
everybody thought he was a liar. We
And then
know
somebody backed
the
out.
story.
Yeah, and they-
But
But anyways,
But
so Kellyanne dealt with that. And then
he tried to
Kellyanne
make everybody
goes-
do everything fair.
Yes.
That
And
does
then-
that does great for making Wes look like a good guy, but it was also kind of unrealistic.
But realistically, every time Kellyanne's on a season, though, it's the same story that happens. So I mean, I don't even know. It's just like literally her character arc that happens.
All right, now we get to the point of the final where I dislike the rest of it. I dislike the rest of it. It's pretty much a race to the yacht with more checkpoints, but these checkpoints are going to be smaller, and we see that it's not really great. First off, the first comp that we get at the first checkpoint is going to be a food eating contest. First off, they have to eat 2 pounds of what can only be described as animal parts.
Protein. Direct protein.
And listen, I know I've said this before. I'm going to say it one more time. The challenge does not need the disgusting eating shit. We don't need
And
it.
it is a challenge.
It's
I think
comedy.
everybody's
People puking.
everybody's
It's
lucky
not
that
needed.
everybody should be praying to God that Tony wasn't on this season. He would have.
But also,
He would have ate all 5 pounds.
2 pounds of it? 2 pounds? I don't even think it was 2 pounds. I think originally they said you had to eat these 5 pounds, and they were just like, look, we're going to be here all day. We got to make it 2 pounds.
Well, I feel bad for Nehemiah. He's like, I'm a freaking vegetarian.
Right? Exactly.
That's a lot of food. Like imagine eating a 32-ounce steak. Like that's a lot.
I am a huge
That's a
guy.
big steak.
And I don't eat 2 pounds at a time like that. I thought it was doing too much. It's gross. People are throwing up. It makes them feel terrible for having to run the end. It is so unnecessary. We don't need the nasty food. Leave it for Fear Factor or The Amazing Race or something like that. It is unnecessary. We don't need it.
I think what they should do from now on, just because it's that way it doesn't, I know they're trying to get like a visual, blend everything up, make it a drink, put a card in front of it, give everybody like 5 options, and be like, you have to drink 3 of these. So they have to like pick their thing, and then they can like have funny commentary of why they chose this over that. But like blend it up so it's just like a bland brown drink.
But then it's
I've
not
never-
as disgusting to see them trying to chew it and then they have full parts coming out of their mouth.
This is true.
Here goes the thing. The rest of this challenge is run and do these little puzzles. You know what you can do? A really long obstacle course. That would have been way better. It doesn't have to be American Ninja Warrior. Run up here, swing over this, climb that, puzzle. Run some more. Jump over this, hang over this, shimmy over this, duck under this, puzzle. That's
Maybe
how they
instead
could have
of
ran
the,
it.
instead of the food eating challenge on day 2, like you just don't tell them, but you're like, you have to finish your Camelback before you finish the whole thing. And then you just put in like a gin and tonic in there the whole time. And then you make the challenge really hard at the beginning. And then as they get to the final pit stop, it's like simple children games, but now they're tanked
That
after
is-
having
They're
a whole
wasted.
thing of
That is a wonderful idea, but I already know just from a safety hazard, they
No,
can't
that's
have
why,
them
that's
doing
why I
this drill.
said as the challenges go on, they get easier, but the intoxication level goes up. So it's like, hey, you need to skip this ball 3 times over these cups or whatever. And there's like, I can't do that. I don't know how to do that.
So during this time, when they're playing the puzzle, Wes and Kayla gets it done. They're already moving on. Brad gets it done. They're moving on. Yada, yada, yada. Nehemiah and Naya are having a lot of difficulty with this. Nehemiah, definitely understandable. He doesn't even eat meat. Probably hates the texture. And if you are going to eat meat after years and years of not eating meat, to have to eat this, it seems pretty cruel and unusual. And Naya's having a tough time. She's even thinking about quitting. And Nehemiah is there to really push her on. That's also what I really hated too. But Nehemiah's like, yeah, go ahead and quit. If you're not willing to sit here and finish your shit, just go ahead and call it a day. But he pushes her to get it done, and she eventually does. I mean, by then, the whole fucking challenge is almost over at this point.
They, in my opinion, never finished the 2 pounds because they came out jogging together. I think they had a disqualification where they hit a time limit.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why people try to chew that
off.
shit. They just tear that shit and just stick it in the back of your throat and swallow it like bad fucking medicine.
Well, yeah, but you
That's-
can't
yeah.
keep continuously swallowing full food.
No,
Your
but
stomach
if you break it up into small enough pieces, like if you just ripped off a piece, swallowed, I feel that's how you could do it. I think Beck is onto something here.
I'm saying
Yeah,
you could
rip everything into small
you could
pieces
literally
and
listen.
swallow it whole.
You can.
It's a pill.
I mean, shit. Make it work. Find the biggest piece that you can swallow without chewing, then just continuously do the same shit.
That's why I told my ex she was having none of it.
Some people don't have gag reflexes. Look at what was it, Jenna during Bloodlines, where she was swallowing whole ass sausages.
Yes, that's very good for her. That's good. That's good to know.
I have a terrible palate when it comes to things. Texture is a big thing for me. Taste, smell. I can't eat a lot of things because of that. I feel like if I was in this portion, I would have housed everything because it's for a lot of money. So I don't care how gross it is for 5 minutes of my life. I would have finished that so fast. I know I would have. Even if it tastes gross and the texture is bad, I don't even care. I would have found the biggest piece and I would have started gnawing on it the
Did
whole
you
time.
see the way
I don't
Wes
care.
just went into ultimate game mode and was just like,
Well, Spirit,
fuck it.
his soul left him.
That's because Wes immediately understood that this was the home stretch. And he was right, because right after the eating portion, it's the stupid star puzzle, grab a surfboard, and then it's the stupid little building block puzzle, which I admit would be pretty hard. But man, just watching
At the very end of a final, though, it's anticlimactic. But
is very.
if you were there doing it, I'm sure that was one of the most difficult things they did. Like having to have 100 pieces not fall over in the wind. Like you saw
Yes.
John A break down when she was halfway.
Yes,
I
and
thought she
you
was
know
gonna
what?
quit.
And big shout out to Johnny for that. Her whole shit fell, and she got right back into game mode. Put that shit back together. Her and Wes dominated this day 2 portion. I really wish they would have had them swim to the boat because that would have been pretty fucking awesome. But they gave them surfboards. And they paddled their way through, and Wes and Janae gets the win. Janae's been to all 3 finals of All-Stars and won 2 of them. Wes comes back and does exactly what he wanted to do. He said that it really wasn't about the money. He wanted the accolade. He wanted everybody to know, I could still hop in and fuck this shit up. And the last time he did this, not counting the time he lost to Bananas, but when he came in War of the Worlds 2, He came in second. And to come in second... Huh?
No, World War
One. Yes,
he
thank you.
He got third, though.
Did you get the...
Turbo
Theo.
Yeah. But still,
that's not bad. You got Turbo, who might actually be a fucking mutant from X-Men, and you got a Olympic caliber athlete, and then your ginger ass comes in third. Give these people their flowers. Wes is still the man at doing this. You gotta love it. And like I said, Janae may not have had the toughest competition, but that's not her fault. She got the competition that is put in front of her, and you know what? And she cleared them. Clean house. Overall, I
don't mean that in any way to disrespect Janae when I said that earlier.
Not.
What I mean, though, is that she went in as the person that should win this final, and then she did win the final. Like, anything else would have been a disappointment for her and an excitement for everybody else. And the challenge fan community would have lost their mind.
Beth and Veronica didn't have a chance?
No, never had a chance. They didn't have a chance. No, not at all. Let
me ask you a question. Are you annoyed that Veronica's a 3-time champ?
Yeah.
Okay, it's not just me. I don't know. She never rubbed me the right way. I just couldn't get with it. And a 3-time champ.
Who, Veronica?
Jesus. Yeah.
Technically now we have a new trifecta, though, because Wes has now won his 3rd official championship.
Yeah. And we do count the spinoffs. We count the spinoffs. As we should.
This is not just a regular spinoff, though. Like Champs versus Stars. Actually, two things.
Champs versus Stars is like the Intercontinental title. Yes. And this is like, the U.S. title.
Listen, Champs versus Pros should have counted as a full season.
It's a European title?
No.
It's the lightweight title?
You can't tell me this final and this season wasn't more difficult than Double Agents or even Total Madness. I think the final was just as difficult. It was just as enduring both days.
I thought the final was legit. I thought it was a very legit final.
But I think the season was legit. The eliminations were legit.
The season was legit
competition.
Too.
But on top of that, the competition was better. I mean, we had champions all across the board. Everybody, the whole Lotarian thing, whatever, everybody had touched a final. So, I mean, it wasn't just guys that have been like, oh yeah, we've been in the challenge for a long time. Everybody had made it to the end of a game, or half the competitors on the guy side alone. If we're talking about Wes here, on the guy side alone, well, there was like, I don't even know how many people, 13 competitors, and like 10 of those 13 had won championships before.
The guy side was pretty stacked.
There was champions all over the board outside of like, I think it was just, who didn't win? Who wasn't a champion? Lotarian.
For the guys?
And who else wasn't a champion? Just Lotarian? Am I missing somebody else that I shouldn't be missing? Everybody else was a champion that was on the season.
Jordan, Darrell, all got championships. Wes, Brad,
Derek, Mark, Nehemiah, they all had championships. They all got championships. Yeah. Yeah, Yes has won 2 championships at the time. So when we're and Cyrus is the champion, technically, because even though it's back in the day, we still count those. We still count Bill Russell as an NBA champion, so we still count Cyrus as a champion.
Because he is.
Well, yeah, but I'm just saying.
Just like Hunter.
So when we look at but he did win. Winning money doesn't make you a champion. Winning money doesn't make you a champion. Beating everybody makes you a champion. Winning money makes you a rich champion. That's the difference. There's rich champions and there's poor champions. We call those seasons 1 through 15 and then everything else after.
15. Whoa. 15 might be.
I'm saying rich champions. Where they made more money. But to me, this feels like a legit win. Last season with MJ and Johnny, it feels like a legit win. Yes's win on 1. It's a 10 episode season.
There's a lot of questions around that final, though.
It's 10 episodes, though, and there's legit competition, and it was legit. This type of Wes, I don't care who misses. I know I'm a stan in this situation, but I think Wes could have ran against anybody in that final, and it would have been close. I think Jordan might have still beat him. I think Bananas would have made it a close race, but I think if Darrell or Derek showed up in that final, I think Wes smokes them in this final. I know Darrell turns it on in finals, but Darrell can't eat, and Wes somehow housed that stuff. Darrell can't do puzzles that well, and Wes was housing puzzles and everything. I think only Jordan, of the guys that were on the show, would have potentially beat Wes in this final.
That's only
Every day
because
he was
Jordan
running.
can possibly beat anybody. But also
Yes.
having Jordan, having Wes, having Derek, having Darrell, it elevated this season too. At least on the male side. These people are legit champions. These people are legit in eliminations. Derek and Jordan are known elimination specialists. Very, very hard to beat. Jordan, only a handful of people has ever beat Jordan.
No. Jordan, yes, it's
Derek
for
has
me.
only
I think
become slightly more beatable in his older age.
his stock has went down. He's more of a legend at this point than he is actually an elimination beast. And he's not gracious about it either. I'm not gonna lie. I really enjoyed when Jordan was like, Derek, that's how you how you win. Hey Derek, that's how you lose. Like stuff like that. Like when he said those things, I don't know. I think Derek is like, I saw this thing on Reddit and it was like my stock on these people, these challengers after all 3 seasons. Some people would stock down, some people stock up. For me, Derek's stock has kind of went down a little bit. I don't put him in the same category that I put in.
I think losing, first off, I would say a little bit too. Because first off, you had a chance to call out Wes and we was able to redo this pole wrestle. So you passed on a pretty iconic moment. That's one. And two,
Derek cheated in that whole elimination and still lost.
And two,
how did Derek cheat?
Mm-hmm. You were supposed to only compete on your knees, and he stood up like 4 times. TJ had to tell him to stand down, like a lot of times.
And I understand it was probably hard. Yeah. Oh. It was probably really hard to stay on your knees in that kind of elimination.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. I'm not saying anything. I probably would have tried staying on my feet too. 100%.
Yeah, exactly. But he did do a lot of it. But also, he wasn't very gracious either. But he did lose to Nehemiah. And don't get me wrong, I love Nehemiah as a challenger. Love him. But if LeBron James were playing 1-on-1 and Kristaps Porzingis beat him, you'd be like, huh.
Now, devil's advocate here, though, Derek being very arrogant and cocky when he does win, he is painting this narrative of I am the villain, even though he doesn't think he's the villain. And I read a comment, too, where somebody's like, Kayla was a great villain this season, but she acted like she didn't know she was the villain. And then somebody was like, the best villains know they're the villains. And I was like, okay, well, I don't think Derek knows he's a villain, but he is, and he should play that more.
I think you are. I think you hit that one right on the head. I think he definitely should play. He should own it a little bit more, but he wants to be the good guy. And also, that's probably what's kept him out of some of the later seasons. Is him trying to be the good guy has made him a little boring.
But he's good at it. He's good at it, being arrogant and smug.
Yes. I wouldn't want to lose to that guy in tic-tac-toe. The way he goes off about it. Not gracious at all. And I love it when people are able to lose graciously and people are able to win graciously. But you did lose to Nehemiah, too.
I'm going to say one thing, and then I'm going to pass it down. After West won, though, they did put down below, it was quick, it said champion, it said 3-time. It said 3X. They counted it as the 3rd championship.
We counted too.
Becky, you've been really quiet and everything. Are you really happy with Wes and John A winning? Like, overall?
I mean, I just don't have a whole lot to say about it. I mean, they were expected to really win this. I didn't expect Wes, because the way he was running it, there was no way. Like, he was just like, pop, 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 ready to go. And he didn't even look.
Winks at the camera, keeps going.
Winks, kisses, I'm killing this shit. He knew he was gonna win. I was like, I knew he was gonna win. Everybody knew he was gonna win.
You know what? In the back of my head, I really was kind of rooting for Brad on this one. I thought Brad played a very well game, although very scary. And I don't know why he was acting so surprised when MJ was just like, yeah, Brad. I'm going to go for Brad.
Brad irritated me this season. Derek irritated me this season.
He plays the same game. He always plays the same game. I think if Brad evolved a little bit, he'll probably hit for a little bit harder going on. He's a great competitor. He can do a lot of this stuff. Mm-hmm. And this game was very, very close. I mean, up until the end of day 1, it was a 1-point game. Brad was right there.
Yeah.
But I thought he played a very good season. I thought he had a real chance in this final. Even throughout the final, even throughout day 2, it was still very, very close. both him and Wes was on the last puzzle at the same time. So, and I like Brad, and he just got added to Challenge Mania in Chicago, so I get to go see him. I'm gonna see if he's gonna let me comb his beard. That'd be cool. But overall, I gotta say for season 3, I loved it. I hope we get 10 more of these. I think you can still have the OGs, but it's okay to start cycling maybe some of the newer people. I think Nicole Ramos will be very good. Would love to see her. I wouldn't hate to see Dario. I think Dario...
No, because he comes from a different show. He's from Are You the One?
But he's still a part of the challenge.
Come on, you're going to bring Veronica back?
No, but hang on. OG needs to stay in the format of you were on Real World, Road Rules, or Fresh Meat.
But as the years move forward, and now we are 3 years from that original starting point, we also got to keep moving forward with that timeline.
Find some way of OG type thing where it's like OG Return of the Fresh Meat, OG Return of the Invasion, where it's the invasion of the other MTV shows.
That's fine. I'm fine with that being a moving line. I just think that line could start moving now.
I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing some of the Are You the One people come back. I mean, honestly, as much as I am not an Amanda fan, I think Amanda might thrive in this whole environment.
Community wouldn't like it though. I'm just telling you how it is. Community didn't even like that Kayla and Nia were on this, and they're from Real World Seasons, and people were like, "No," and I was like, "They're from Real World."
I think people were excited for Nia. I think people were excited for Nia, but I don't think people were excited for Kayla. People are like, "Bye, Kayla, go home."
Listen, our community is pretty great, but we can also be really, really stingy sometimes. We can also be really, really short-sighted. I mean, the amount of hate that was lent out to the Challenge USA was a lot.
Unnecessary.
Very unnecessary, because that first episode was actually pretty okay. And guess what? We just opened the floodgates. Now we got so much more people to choose from. And we're getting more shows.
Listen, I'm just saying, throw a few of actual MTV. You guys are stealing the challenge.
They'd be targeted. They'd be targeted. They'd be the first 4 out.
You're stealing the challenge. You're stealing the host. Have a few people
from the original. They're not stealing the challenge. They own it. They own it, and they're expanding it.
It's Viacom. I understand.
Viacom, who's super lovely and loves to let us promote all of our stuff that we want to on YouTube. Viacom.
Well,
Viacom.
They eased up a little bit. So
this was always going to happen. Like, if anybody's mad, they should have been freaking out when Fresh Meat happened.
People were freaking out when
they did.
I don't know. Fresh Meat is one of my favorite seasons.
Freaked out. Are You the One? People freaked out. Big Brother people freaked out.
Listen, Fresh Meat ended up being pretty great, but before Fresh Meat, everybody was freaking out. They did the same thing when it was announced that Heath Ledger was going to be the Joker, and anybody who says they didn't is a fucking liar. We all freaked out too. Heath Ledger, the Joker, none of us thought it was a good idea. I went in there thinking like, man, this shit's gonna be some bullshit. And you know what? We were all wrong. We were all wrong, and that's okay.
I'm glad that this is going to expand out more for a different audience. What I wanted to see is I do want to see some of the original challenge people, the people who really made this show, who brought this out, and everybody wanted to join. Did you hear people? Hey, shush!
It's kind of ironic you're saying this. It's irony, but continue.
But what I said, how many people on that Challenge USA? One of the first things they said, "I've studied the challenge. I'm a fan of the challenge. I watched the challenge. I love the challenge." But mind you, not a single motherfucker from the original challenge is on there, and that's what makes me mad. I'm saying, listen, I'm okay with bringing other people in. This is another show. It's on CBS. It has to have CBS reality. I get it. But don't forget where you came from. It's rude.
I'm going to tell you something you're going to hate. In 5-6 years, after we get a couple of these tournaments,
and I'll be dead probably soon, no matter.
Most of the people who's on the challenge now, that's been there, all the old vets, the CTs, the marks, they're not going to be there anymore.
Yeah, Fessie's going to be our vet.
Yeah,
Fessie's going to be our CT.
I just threw up in my mouth.
Jinx. So Real quick, that's super ironic that you're saying that. Because we're recording All Stars 3 finale podcast, so they literally did give us fan service of only OGs, no new people. And at the same time, now they're dropping a show like, hey, we just gave you 3 seasons with no new people. We're gonna drop a season with some only new people.
And we are still complaining.
Listen.
We are still complaining.
I'm just
gonna tell you
saying,
right now.
That's us.
don't forget
That's
the challenge
where you
community.
come from. And besides,
You are
They
going-
did.
and let me tell
They
you,
gave us a whole show.
And
We're fucking Beth.
ew, gross. Beth was such a waste of fucking.
But she's an OG. This is what everybody always talks about. We want OGs. They gave them to you.
I want better OGs. Period.
If we go back in time, people were mad that Road Rules had to share their limelight with Real World. Like, no, we do competitions. They just live in a goddamn house. Big Brother comes on in. They just live in a goddamn house. It's the same thing. Realistically,
we
Real
bitch
World.
about Are You the One?
Real World was
bitch
to
about
Road
Big
Rules
Brother.
what Big Brother and Are You the One are to the challenge.
I'm
And here's
just
the
saying.
best part about it. Hang on, here's the best part about it. We don't have a bunch of people from all these other shows competing on Survivor, competing on Big Brother. No, they're competing on the challenge because the challenge has elevated itself to the mecca. All these 4 underneath it, hey, come up here and play this game. That's the game because it brings together everything of all those other 4 games. Kind of.
Kind of.
So, my,
Listen.
my music's kind of starting to play. They're gonna party out there, so I gotta get going.
You know what? That's a good time to end it. Another great episode.
Fuck you,
Tyler,
Bo.
thank you so much for coming back and joining
Thank you.
us. Becky, we got your point. Thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah, I agree with your point too. It's a little bit.
Yes. That's going to do it for us. The next episode is going to come out. Me and Becky are going to break down the first episode of the Challenge USA. That's going to do it for us. Thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you guys so much for kicking it with us. Give me 1 second because I didn't even pull this up.
Oh, he's forgetting his outro.
And I am the finale fanatic.
I never forget the
That's what I'm
outro. Anyway, thank you all for watching. Make sure you follow us on Instagram and Twitter at LWC Podcast. Follow us on Facebook and TikTok at Love War Challenges. Make sure you cop your official Love War Challenges gear at shop.lwc podcast, and our website is lwcpodcast.com. You can get all of your customizable challenge gear and accessories at shopthechallenge.com. And make sure you listen to Love War Challenges podcast on Apple and Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or your favorite podcast app. Once again, I am MTV Malik. She is Becky at Giftmaster Bex. He is Tyler at Lord Louder. This is Love War Challenges. Good night.
Bye.
Peace.